Hey guys, I'm George. Welcome to my channel. I've got a 2001 D2 TD5 and today I'm going to be replacing the starter inhibitor switch. So these are also more commonly known as the XYZs, and it's pretty common for them to fail. This is partly due to the fact that Land Rover, being Land Rover, decided that they were going to put the air conditioning hose right above them. So especially if you live in Australia like I do, you run your aircon a fair bit throughout the year, and yeah, the water pretty well drips on these and eventually fucks them. So yeah, I'll just do a step-by-step of what we're going to do, what tools we'll need, and fingers crossed it fixes my problem. Right guys, so I am pretty much ready to go. I've got my nice little yoga mat so I don't scratch my back on the pavers. Got 13mm spanner, 13mm ratchet, 10mm spanner, 10mm ratchet. I don't think I'm going to be able to squeeze this 13 in, and unfortunately I don't own ratchet spanners, so if you've got ratchet spanners you are luckier than I am. So yeah, I've got my inhibitor obviously, but I won't need that until I've got the old one out. Just one thing to note as well, these are actually fairly expensive. This actually came with the car when I bought it. The previous owner just never got round to replacing it, but I think off the top of my head they're worth about 500 Australian dollars for a second-hand one. So I'd say they're worth keeping. There's plenty of tutorials online to actually refurb these, pull them apart, give them a clean. Obviously they've got rivets, so you'll need a rivet gun in order to put it back together. But yeah, let's poke along, see how we go. Okay, welcome to the underside of my car. Here you've got your auto trans. Try and get a better lens. There we go. And your inhibitor switch is just here, this little thing. And I probably won't be able to get the camera up under there, but just up above it, if you push the cable that the inhibitor plugs into out your way and feel up a little bit, you'll feel a tiny little hose, which is where your aircon drops from. So obviously mine's been dripping all night. I do have a couple of bog standard Land Rover oil leaks. So first things first, we are going to be removing this nut here on the side, and then the two retaining nuts. You've got one here, and then there's one right up in the far corner, which I won't be able to get on the camera, but it's pretty well opposite this nut here. So we'll get them undone and we will unplug it, pull it off, see how we go. Right guys, so old XYZ is off. It was straightforward up until the point where I had to undo this thing. So further up here, I won't be able to get the camera in. There's sort of I think it's a C-clip or whatever, which slots into here and holds this onto the little aluminium bracket on the side of the transmission. I was going for a solid 10-15 minutes trying to get this clip undone while it was attached. Ran out of patience, did a bit of research online, and yeah, so what I used was just a small pry bar. So you just stick it, oh no, sorry, the pry bar didn't fit. So what I did use was just a small flathead screwdriver. Just slots under there, lift that up, prise it up, and then just pull the clip gently down towards you, trying not to snap it obviously. And yeah, now I've got it off. There doesn't seem to be any dirt in there really. It seems pretty clean. And going back to just pulling the switch off, I didn't quite know how this actually slotted on. I didn't know whether it had like a plastic insert or anything like that. So I was really gentle, just using the pry bar one side and wiggling it with my spare hand. But it turns out it's actually metal, so you could be a bit more forceful if it doesn't really want to come off. So yeah, I just undid this bolt, slid this off, undid the other two bolts, took the switch off, and here we are. Here's my old one. All the armour on the cables is a bit goners, but There's nothing of note inside the switch, the plug. There's a bit of moisture on it, obviously, from where the aircon's been dripping. So hopefully, fingers crossed, when I install the new one, should be good as gold. Right, so back underneath. First thing I'm going to do is reattach this end of the plug. It just goes back onto that C-clip. Should be fairly easy. And then I'll plug the new XYZ in. I've seen something, so I go off the Haynes manual. It states about having a special Land Rover tool to actually make sure that this is in the correct position, the actual selector. But after reading a bit online, you don't need the tool. It's more a case of keeping it in the position it was in when you took it out with your gear stick in park. I just compared the two switches to make sure that the insert, or whatever you want to call it, are both in the same position. And then when I slip it back on, I just make sure that it's actually seated properly. I won't force it because you don't want to damage the plastic cog. That's the last thing you want for an expensive part. And then from what I've seen, reading through forums, is after it's all finished with the install, just flick your ignition on and ensure that what is showing on your dash and your gear selector matches where it should be, which is obviously P. Right, so yeah, start throwing this back together, see how we go. Hopefully it's a bit easier than removing it, because we don't have to deal with this plug. So stay tuned. Right, so the switch went back on pretty easily, plugged in. The plug was actually fairly difficult to piece together, so hopefully I won't have to be pulling that off again anytime soon. Now I've got that slid on, I'm going to throw the bolts back in, slide this back on, and give it a test run, see how we go. One thing I will say as a recommendation, it's really handy. Get yourself one of these magnetic bolt trays. They're fantastic, especially when you're lying down doing stuff like this. You can keep them above you, put everything in the order that you took it off in even. Especially handy for different size bolts and stuff like that. So just a hot tip. So let's see how we go here, putting everything back together, and we'll reconvene. Welcome back, guys. So when I was pulling this all apart, I had quite a bit of drama of getting this back bolt out here, especially without having ratchet spanners. It's just very awkward even to get the fingers in to undo it by hand once it became loose enough. So what I've done here is just disconnected the selector cable. Pretty easy. There's just a little C-clip which slots on here. I just literally pushed it off with my little pry bar, and then you slide it back to this point and it just fits through this little slot where my finger is here. So hopefully that'll make my life a lot easier now. We'll get this back bolt in, throw this all back together and see how we go. Okay guys, so I've just given this a test run and it's actually ever so slightly out. So go for reverse. When it's actually on reverse, the light goes off. Just go forward a touch. That's our reverse. Same with neutral. Go forward a tiny bit, and then drive 3, 2, 1 are all good. Same on the dash, as you can see. So go neutral, forward a little bit, reverse, forward a little bit, park, forward a little bit. So let's try and suss this out. I think it's just a case of adjusting the cable, and then we'll come back and try again. Trial and error.